Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is Jonas reporting. It's for the 16th. Well, we continued onward and upward. Again, this was that weakness of the shorts, and when they try to ride up within the magenta over yellow, it's always a short cover situation. We still had cyan under red. It's maintained itself, still riding up with it. So we could get a DOC spread at any one of those points, but this becomes a critical inflection. Obviously, would have preferred a much stronger break when those two angles of the cyan and green separate strongly, you get a much stronger reaction. But from a shakeout standpoint, continuing to be consistent. We don't have any positive extremes, so none of this is outside normal, uh, or something that we would expect that has to move back in a new direction. It was quite impressive from the run because with the rejection that the Nasdaq showed here, uh, pretty strong readings ever since that, and continuing to be the case. Even though from a DOC standpoint, you can see the rising red is the strength of it, but pretty even. So intraday, you're seeing that there's still a lot of back and forth competition, but it continues to force short cover. And that's the critical aspect because that typically is what moves the market higher when you get that kind of displacement, because at the end of the day, the Bulls have more strength and shorts just don't realize it and haven't taken into account what's the justification for the opposite play other than just, well, it must be because it's been going up for a while. No, it's not a justification. You actually have to have some thing happening, world event or whatever, and um, there's been some backing off of the whole Ukraine and Polish thing, and you had the Polish ambassador go to Ukraine, probably telling him stop sending the Russian drones onto our territory because no one in Europe really wants to send forces into Ukraine, and you want money to continue your war, and that's not going to work because nobody wants you beating a war drum, at least from a popular standpoint. That doesn't mean they don't still want to, have a conflict with Russia. It's just, yeah, that doesn't look good. So we'll see if that happens because that could be the end of it. And this has been Zelensky's whole idea from way back is to try and draw the West into the conflict because he knows he can't win. It's kind of obvious given the territorial gains. From an oil standpoint, we got nothing happening. Nothing happening at all. It's just kind of straight line, and just the excitement for Europe in this is just through the roof. They just think the U.S. economy is headed to end. And despite the fact that they're not really making anything from a GDP standpoint, it's interesting to see their currency rise relative to the dollar. But you got to go with what is. Same thing with gold. They see the debasement with the spending versus what's being allowed to be cut, not cut. That just goes all back forward and backwards in the same story. Deficits are going to continue. It's going to be a continued drain on the economy because always works that way. You have to move money into the private sector. Um, when it's there, you have far better use of it than you do from a government standpoint. And it's just decade after decade, the numbers show this. This is no, I guess it's still debatable, but it's pretty hard to justify the debate because it's clearly shown it's a net drain on the resources of the private sector. They allocate capital better than the government does. It's always been the case. Now, the government could do better in the types of allocations, but it doesn't. They think that social and welfare spending is the same as construction or infrastructure, and they're not. And that failing is the real dynamic problem. Bitcoin and them, modest relative to gold. Gold has really outshone them, but that makes up for the fact that these guys ran way past gold for months, and now you're just getting a parity to it. ETH still even in there. It's riding that same short cover, which is holding up any selling that's taking place inside of it. So from a 50K standpoint, when we look at the other day, we had the magenta pop above, stayed clearly there. Rising MBI white could not get above even the yellow in this particular case. So even when you had the magenta cross back below, yellow still riding up there, and then the shorts just faded off, and that led to just higher move. So pretty straightforward in there. We really didn't get a whole lot of selling that when you look at it from the intraday. Pretty much later in the day is when it evened out to fill in some of these positive extremes that took place, and it covered them neatly going all the way back. Um, so early morning of the day, it's just kind of flipping it back and forth day after day. Some days it's the early sell, and by early, sell happens middle or end of the day. And we did pop right back up to the end of it, just at post market. And then from an Asian session, it's been pretty comfortable. And now you see in the EU session taking off strongly. So that's the long and the short of it. But all in all, it really gives us a broader picture of the views and the different categories that people are placing things in. And it's that kind of separation that's going to meet a confrontation point, probably not in too distant future. Right now, the market thinks easy money because the Fed's going to be cutting. So that's going to be a bonus. Trump did get his extra member on there. But the one he fired is still appeals court let her stay. So who knows? As always, anything relevant, we'll put it on the team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.